Now, there's a lot of speculation whether Errol Spence is faking an injury. Let me break it down like this. I don't know. I will say this though. If he felt he could get or have the exceptional training camp that would be needed to fight Manny Pacquiao, he'd go through with a fight. He's not scared of Manny Pacquiao. So, whether he's faking the injury or not, he's not faking it because he's scared of Pacquiao. He's faking it because either his body's breaking down, or when he smashed up the sports car, he just hasn't recovered from it sufficiently that he can take on a fight like this. Or he just tore the retina, and it is what it is. He says he's came back from worse. Now, he could prove me wrong, but I believe he's heading for the scrap heap in terms of being a boxer. Not taking his career-defining fight, which was Terence Crawford. He can try and, swerve that reality, but that was his defining fight. He didn't take that. Years have gone by now. Hasn't lived the life in terms of what he puts in his body. You could argue he was declining before the incident with the sports car, with the performances we saw against Mikey Garcia, and crashing the sports car could just be the final death blow. Now, he's had the surgery and apparently it went well, but he could knock over a few easy warm-ups when he comes back. But even in his own history, he just has to look back at the Kell Brook fight when he took the IBF title from Kell, and Kell quit with the eye injury. Second orbital bone break he had in consecutive fights. History tells us that as soon as you step up to elite level with injuries like that, and don't get me wrong, he could be the exception to the norm, it's normally a wrap. I mean, what's he going to come back for? Is he going to just go for Crawford straight away? The fight might not be there. Maybe Crawford loses. Maybe Pacquiao loses Saturday or he retires. I don't know. It all depends on how much he wants it and what the landscape is. How much does he want it? He's got a lot of money for a young man. Go risk your eyesight to pursue glory? We'll see how much he wants it. I don't get to spend nobody's money on it, and if you feel $74 is value for money for Pacquiao versus UGAS, I guess it depends on how you were attached to the fight or either fighter. With Spence and Pacquiao collapsing like it did, it was no surprise to me that the Canelo-Caleb Plant fight for Undisputed was made pretty swiftly, and it will be a joint promotion between the PBC with Canelo Promotions, and it's all set for November. Now, I don't know what to believe with Mike Cappinger. Call him Cap. Caps a little. It's a one-fight deal. There's reason to believe that Alvarez will continue to face off against boxers from the stable, like David Benavidez, who doesn't have a belt, and Jamal Charlo, who doesn't have a belt, at 168. Eddie won't be involved in the promotion of the event, but he is expected to work on behalf of Canelo Promotions. It will all depend on the success of the Caleb Plant fight, if Canelo decides to take on the likes of Benavidez and Jamal Charlo. I wonder if Canelo snuck the injury clause in there. I'm assuming he did, without much resistance from Al Heyman. Like I said, Spence Pacquiao went down. Fury versus Wilder is scheduled for October the 9th, but there's no guarantees, and some of the language coming out of the Fury camp, mainly from John, is none too encouraging. I'm predicting a close competitive fight between UGAS and Pacquiao. Keith Thurman nearly beat Manny Pacquiao. He nearly beat him. It was a close fight. The knockdown, Keith's inactivity just perhaps allowed Manny to shade it. I think UGAS is in better condition than Keith. A big deal is made about Manny's speed. They're saying Manny is quicker than UGAS. But this is going to come down to timing for UGAS. If he tries to compete with Manny's speed, he gets beaten. But if he can time Manny with that double jab and back Manny up, he's got a good chance of winning. He has a shot at winning the fight. Pacquiao is 42. He can fall apart at any stage. That's why I've got it a competitive fight. I'm not just going to run with what everyone's saying and say Pacquiao's going to wash this guy. I don't see it. He's got to keep his discipline, UGAS, and time Manny as he comes in. Don't waste punches. Look for the counters and pot shots. And he can beat Manny. He could beat Manny. He could beat Manny. You know, Manny's learnt a lot, but he's been very inactive. 2019 from when he last fought Keith Thurman? It's a long time. Jordinas has fought twice in 2020. What do they call it? Ring generalship? Manny used a bit of that on Keith Thurman, you know. Done a little bit of showboating in there to let the judges and the crowd know that, yo, I'm still the man. And that's the veteran Not just relying on his physicality now, because he knows he probably can't do a lot of the stuff that he used to do. Manny is going to find it hard to outpunch UGAS if UGAS doesn't back up. You know, if Manny lands clean, maybe you could rock UGAS, maybe you could get him out of there. You never know. He generates a lot of power from his legs in them shots, Manny. But UGAS got a nice high, tight guard. If Manny can't outbox the guy, does he have the work rate to overwhelm him? That's something that has to be considered. And I'm not sure he does. I don't care how hard he's training. He's 42. He hasn't fought since 2019. But we'll see. In some people's opinion, if Manny beats another black fighter like UGAS, that makes him better than Mayweather. I don't know. The people who are talking about the black fighter thing, they're putting too much stock into it. America hasn't produced that much great black fighters in the last 10 or 15 years or so. You got Andre Ward, Terence Crawford. To me, Spence is not great. Porter is not great. Bernard Hopkins is 80s. Shane Mosley is, let's say, start of the decade. They're putting too much stock into that. The Floyd arguments give themselves away, in my opinion. Like, I've heard people say that CANELO is a better fighter than Floyd and has a better resume. Oscar is a better fighter than Floyd, has a better resume. And Manny is a better fighter than Floyd and has a better resume. But what do neither of them have on their resume? They don't have a Mayweather, and Mayweather has all of them on his resume. To me, the record shouldn't even be questioned. Unbeaten Corrales, who was killing people in there. Castillo twice, who was the best lightweight. Ricky Hatton, 2-weight champion, unbeaten. Oscar De La Hoya, that's Floyd's transitional fight into the cash cow phase. Shane Mosley after his best victory when he took out Margarito. That's Shane's best victory. I know Shane's resume. Shane didn't do nothing at lightweight. Nothing at all. Don't be talking about Vargas and better wins than Margarito. No. His best win is Margarito. The way he stopped him, that reverberated around the boxing world. What a lot of people conveniently forget is the boxing world was calling for Mosley versus Floyd. You know, Mosley knocked out Margarito, went up in the ring after Floyd fought Marquez, a fight that they say he cherry-picked, although it was all right for Tim Bradley to turn in one of his best career performances against that same Marquez, and Manny Pacquiao arguably never beating Marquez. Shane called him out, confronted him in the ring after the Marquez fight. People were saying, Floyd's not going to take the fight. He's not going to take the fight. He took the fight and cleaned Shane the fuck up. And when Floyd made it look easy, Shane was inactive for a year. And then, you know, they always do that. You know, the Mexicans were marching like the changing of the guard was about to happen. I remember reading it with CANELO. And when Floyd outpointed him, he was too green. And, you know, basically you just can't get your way with Floyd. You can't get him beaten. So you either talk about he's boring, he was fighting people out of his prime, and he cherry picks. But it's nonsense, really. It's nonsense. How can three fighters of his era, of his generation, three fighters of whom he fought and beat, all have better resumes than him? Well, so what's his resume then? It's just like, what are you talking about? The black fighter thing, and we're talking about welterweight for the most part, yeah? But you tell me the black welterweights in the last 10, 15 years who are better than Manny, who Floyd outpointed unanimously. Who are they? Tell me a black fighter better than CANELO at any weight CANELO's fought at. Name them. Perhaps Lara. Could argue Lara beat him. Or Austin Trout. But now we're arguing with scorecards now. What about Golovkin? Let me tell you this. Neither Golovkin, Lara, or Trout did a job on CANELO like Floyd did. Now, some may say, well, Crawford is a better fighter than Manny, but he doesn't have a better resume in general or welterweight resume better than Manny. Now, I believe Terence would beat him, but he doesn't have a better resume, so you can't say he's a better fighter on some eye tests. Nah. You look at Miguel Cotto, his welterweight record. Zab Juda's a damn good fighter. Had how much belts at that weight class at one stage? Damn good. And Mosley and names like that at welter? Errol Spence ain't better than Cotto as a welterweight, or Sean Porter, or Keith Thurman. These people ain't better than Cotto. They're not better fighters than Miguel Cotto. And you're going to say, well, they didn't fight at welter. Well, they fought at 154. And Cotto is the naturally bigger man out of the two. Floyd started at super feather. Cotto started at lightweight. The Paul Williams thing, like, too much is played into that. Well, if Floyd didn't fight him, Manny didn't fight him either. Manny was fighting a weight-drained Oscar rather than Paul Williams when Paul had the WBO belt. And then Paul moved up quickly soon after he beat Margarito to middle. Look, if Margarito had beat Shane Mosley, he would have got the Floyd fight. And this is just my opinion, but I'm going to put it in there. Without bricks and plaster Paris in his hand, Margarito can't beat Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match. Now, look, a lot of people don't like him, but if you're going to use your dislike of the man and then try and pass it off as real boxing analysis, then it can't be really taken that serious. Like, Blood had a video about Pacquiao is better than Floyd. Now, that's Blood's opinion. I ain't got no problem with that. We all know where Blood stands with it. It was one of them pieces in the comment section. The snuff who called me they, as in what's that begin doing on the hangout here when I was on somebody's hangout. That snuff dismissing Floyd and talking all types of shit. But bigs up Golovkin. Like Golovkin has challenged himself as much as Floyd throughout his career. Golovkin, one of the most protected fighters ever. But old Aryan has got the nerve to talk shit about Floyd's career while he's hung on to Eastern European fighters. And I don't even think they're even Eastern European themselves. Yeah? You want to make memes and jokes about Rigondeaux? Rigondeaux went up 2 weight classes to challenge Lomachenko. What happened when Golovkin had to go up 1 weight class to challenge Andre Ward? Let's talk about that. You have enabled Golovkin to duck fights for years and years and years. You know, a lot of you are just mad. You didn't see Floyd get knocked out. He didn't take that L. You know, what was he, 45 now? Still took millions to the bank with an exhibition fight. You didn't like that. Tried to say that. Logan Paul outpointed him. You're just mad. You're mad that Casemiro couldn't knock out Rigondeaux. A lot of you are just angry. You're just angry. You know, Casemiro got the victory and you were still mad as Casemiro was punching air like he was fighting 2 opponents in there. Ridiculous. I was thinking the other day, how does David Haye and Joe Fournier get on an American boxing card in 2021? How the f did that happen? And then I started thinking again, Haye Fournier, Crawford and Porter, not happening. Now I know it's different networks, Triller, Haye and Fournier, and Top Rank and the PBC, Porter and Crawford. But it's still relevant though. Like, why did anyone believe that a purse bid was going to bring this fight to reality when it's been spoken about before and not got off the ground? Porter was screaming that Bob was lowballing him, what was it, last year? Crawford and Porter themselves have showed no enthusiasm about making the fight. Both promotional outlets are prepared to let it go to a purse bid and potentially let both parties just walk away from the fight and do something else. But why? Could both fighters or both parties be asking for too much money so they can reach a deal before the dreaded purse bid? Crawford will only get 60% of the split as champion rather than the usual 80-20 for mandated fights based on an extensive evaluation of the 3 previous purses earned by both boxers. BoxingScene.com has learnt that infrequent discussions over the past 3.5 weeks between Top Rank and the PBC haven't produced much movement towards an agreement. Not even for the fans. I think we'll have to start calling it the welterweight division. Weight as in W-A-I-T. I stole that from my homegirl Kat on Twitter. Big yourself up, Kat. Nice little bit of wordplay from Kat. Having to wait too long for these fights. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of people say, yeah, Beats is an Eddie Hearn shill. No. I really ain't. I heard Barbershop Conversation saying that Eddie and DAZN are pulling out of American boxing. And he was asking, are Al Heyman going to do the same? Now, a lot of people, oh, you're hating on Eddie. Well, look, I always try and be honest. I don't think he was hating. Why aren't they picking up Garcia versus Prograis? Why not? Why are they making them wait? Haven't seen Eddie across the pond as frequently as he used to be. And now, you know, they're loosening up restrictions as well? Is the American dream not over, but is he not that fussed about it anymore, is what I'm wondering. It looks like rather than trying to conquer America, he's putting all his focus outside of the UK into Canelo. He's got Canelo. He doesn't care about conquering America no more. Mikey took $7 million from DAZN last time out. They ain't giving him that again. How much do they want for the fight? Neither of them are a sanctioned title holder. It seemed to be all systems go in July. Prograis and Mikey. And now Prograis is claiming that Canelo is affecting his fight with Mikey Garcia. I don't know how he has came to that conclusion that he's waiting for Canelo. Why is he waiting for Canelo? He's saying we've got to find out what he's doing because we don't want to land on the same time because, you know, Canelo's the big deal and big cash cow. But nobody does that. Who stops scheduling a fight because they don't want to land on the same date as a cash cow? You start building towards making the fight. And, you know, if you're going to clash with somebody like a Canelo, then you rearrange it a little. You tweak the date. It doesn't make sense what he's saying. So what's the reality about Eddie Hearn in America right now? Well, Anthony Joshua will have his last contracted fight on Sky pay-per-view against Usyk. DAZN will broadcast the fight in America. We'll see what AJ's next move is after that, after he fights Usyk. But here it is here. Look, May the 29th was the last card that Eddie did in America. Devin Haney versus Linares. May the 29th. And now Devin is more or less a free agent. Didn't re-sign with MATCHROOM. But they still have a relationship. But it's more a fight-by-fight thing right now. So that's a couple of months back. Nearly 3 months back. I don't do maths, right? And the next Eddie Hearn cards on DAZN are what? Mauricio Lara versus Josh Warrington, September the 4th. October the 9th, Anthony Fowler versus Liam Smith. All in the UK. Where's the dates for Andrade? Who's his next fight? Where is his next fight? When is his next fight? When is the next Matchroom card in America? They don't have much of a roster there no more. Hunter's gone. Miller's gone. Sims is gone. I'm not sure if Jacobs is still there or not. I'm not sure. So we got the likes of Jessica McCaskill. 2 victories over Cecilia Brækhus. She, in March, was scheduled to fight Katie Taylor. And that will more than likely be in the UK. And she's an American fighter. So there's nothing scheduled for her in America. And she's a Matchroom fighter. Andrade got nothing scheduled in his box rec. Can't find no information about a next date or a next opponent. He just fought his mandatory, so he'll be freed up for a while. Nothing at all. A lot of Eddie's focus has went into this fight camp. And a lot of his focus is in the domestic scene, which a lot of British fans are not mad about at all. It could come down to stick to what you know for Eddie right now. Liam Smith versus Fowler. That's not even a world title fight. These are big fights. Warrington versus Lara. No world title on the line. They're going to do massive numbers at Headingley. Massive. You have a feeling that Khan and Brook could be coming soon. You have a feeling. Is Danny Jacobs still a Matchroom fighter? He's still on the website. Maybe they just haven't updated. Raymond Ford had to get on a plane to keep a stranglehold on his contract and beat Reece Bellotti last week. If Canelo's next couple of fights are on the PBC, he looks dead for Eddie in America. Got to keep it real. Credit him on his successes, and he's had a lot of successes. And we told the truth. No matter what's going on, it's just as simple as that. Done a tremendous job with Anthony Joshua in British boxing. And look, he might unveil the schedule. He might unveil the schedule for the US. Who knows? But he did say recently he doesn't want to do the YouTube boxing thing no more. It's a bit cringe, even though he did the KSI Logan Paul rematch. And that's what America is into right now. Is that alternative circuit, let me just call it, for want of a better way of phrasing it. It's a lot of time, money and energy to try and get them PBC fighters to take the fights on the app. It's a lot of time and energy over there. I mean, they've got fights that have virtually landed on their lap, like Prograis and Garcia, and they're still thinking it over. Bob Arum was saying that DAZN are down around $2 billion since they entered the game. They have took losses, and that would explain their reluctance to pay these fighters in America so much money just to make fights. I was listening to Ring IQ's hangout on the announcement of Plant and Canelo being finalized, and with Fox footing the bill for Canelo versus Plant, that should free up some money for Eddie and DAZN. And if that's so, I would like to see Mikey Garcia versus Progress. It's not a bad fight. But after that, what's really out there? What is really out there? If he can't get any PBC fighters, any unification fights, it's not really worth blowing the budget out there like that. Now, I'm giving you my take on it. Eddie Hearn don't pay me no salary, bruh. Don't come in here talking shit. He don't pay me no salary. But Eddie is out of the loop. Al Heyman is staging undisputed fights. Castano, Charlo, okay, it wasn't a big box office smash, but they can always have the rematch. And now he's got Canelo and Plant. What's Eddie staging out there? Al snatched away the undisputed heavyweight title from him. Bob Arum had Ramirez and Taylor. Eddie ain't got shit. So he's a few steps behind. He's getting outmaneuvered. Like I said before, he handed Bob an undisputed champion, Terence Crawford, when he took his option on Ndongo and fed him straight to Terence. He handed Al Heyman the Plant and Canelo fight by pitching Callum and Billy in the ring with Canelo, while Al sat on his cards, and now he's got a shot at Caleb not only becoming undisputed champion, but a potential cash cow in the sport, which could really hurt Eddie Hearn's status as an American promoter. Now, before anyone who is an Al Heyman fanatic gets too happy hearing this, or if you're an Eddie Hearn fanatic and you're getting pissed off with Beats now, Eddie has tried to make more cross-promotion fights than Al Heyman all day. And I have to say, some of it could be down to he's a little more naive than Al Heyman, perhaps, or he's more of a boxing man than Al Heyman. I'm just pointing out the state of the landscape as it is. That's all I'm doing. DILLIAN was supposed to fight in America. Have they shelved that? The whole DILLIAN situation is getting very confusing, because now they're talking about, yes, they're ready to step in if Tyson Fury can't make it against Wilder, but that doesn't seem like much of a plan in terms of what DILLIAN's next move is. Unless they've got information that we're not privy to, that it looks likely that Fury is not going to go through with the third fight. So they're basically waiting for Tyson Fury to withdraw. What kind of strategy is that? That seems very strange. Like, we've heard some of the stuff that John Fury has been saying about taking Wilder to court for defamation, and Fury's going to put his family first with all the drama he's went through with his newborn. But who waits for somebody to pull out to get a fight? You either negotiate and arrange a fight, or what's going on? You're waiting for Tyson Fury to fall apart? That doesn't seem like much of a strategy. But then again, with all these recent pullouts with Corona and even retinas, maybe ain't such a bad idea. Rolly Romero contemplating retirement. What do I make of it? I don't know. A lot of people don't like Rolly. I always found him a bit hilarious, but I'm starting to realize now he looks a little troubled. What I found was maybe him being a bit different. Maybe he's a bit troubled. I don't know nothing about the kid's life at all, to be honest with you. Could it be that he's in the lightweight division, weight as in W-A-I-T, big up cat, where he has asked for a few fights. He's asked to fight Tank, and he's there waiting around. Although I think Bill Haney got in contact with Mayweather Promotions about to fight and got nothing back. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe it might be trolling online, because he looks like a target to get trolled for his weird ways and mannerisms and facial expressions. He's just a little different. There's just something, I don't even know what word to use, so I'll refrain from trying to describe what I'm trying to describe. So is he going to join Ryan Garcia on the I'm going missing list? It looks like it. Joe Joyce's stripped of his European heavyweight title after refusing to take on mandatory challenger Marco Huck. Huck Box Promotions won the purse bids for the fight with an offer of €260,000. But by then, Joyce was already set to fight Carlos Takam. Now, I don't think Joyce would be too bothered about it. It'd probably be a step backwards. Now he's the mandatory for one of AJ's belts. Now, what Huck has done at heavyweight, I'm not too sure. What has he done in boxing, period, over the last few years? I'm not too sure, but boxing scene are saying he could face off against Ajit Kabayel, Tony Yoka, Pulev, Derek Chisora and Daniel Dubois for that European belt, We'll see. WBC have mandated the very much overrated Marcus Browne. I'm just going to say it like that. He's overrated. To take on Artur Beterbiev for his 2 scraps, the WBC and IBF titles. Now, it could be a decent fight as long as Marcus isn't too shot or too shook after the beating he took from Jean Pascal in 2019. He's had 1 fight since then, a points win over Denis Grachev, who had lost about 5 of his last 6 when Marcus Browne faced him. Marcus Browne has skills, but he looks like he needs to get his head focused on what he wants to do. Do you want to box or be in dramas with your girlfriends? You've got to make up your mind. Once again, you don't realize how much fighters Eddie has on a fight-to-fight basis. You see them on Matchroom cards and you automatically think they're signed. But Leigh Wood was another one of them fight-to-fight basis guys who was fighting on Matchroom cards. He's just inked a multi-fight deal with Matchroom after winning a 2nd-tier WBA belt. So I would imagine if Eddie tried to match him against the IBF champion in his stable, Galahad, that the WBA would strip Leigh Wood, as they claim they're trying to clear up all the belts. Why they don't just strip all of the 2nd-tier belt holders and done with it, I don't know. But Leigh Wood, he seems to be ambitious. He wants to fight the likes of Navarrete. Now that's the type of fight that Eddie needs to put up the dough for. Get Navarrete over here in the UK. But you can't unify with that 2nd-tier belt, can you? That's the thing. So if he was to fight Navarrete, the WBA, I assume, would strip him of that 2nd-tier belt. That seems how they're doing it. That seems to be the road they're going down. If you challenge another title holder, they'll strip you. I haven't read the whole manifesto, how they're going to clean the belts up, and I can't be bothered, really. I said I was going to read it the other week, but if you believe me, fool on you. Well done to Leigh Wood, multi-fight deal. We'll see what you can do with it. Bob Arum must have been looking for a joint after he heard Tyson Fury's dad was prepared to cancel the Deontay Wilder trilogy 2 days ago, but Fury, very soon after, he appears to have cancelled out what his dad said, and the fight appears to be going ahead on October the 9th. But the way John is popping up recently and spending time with his son and the influence he must have over his family, don't be shocked if Tyson Fury pulls out. Don't be shocked. Edgar Berlanga has had a war of words with Rocky Fielding online. Fielding is questioning Berlanga's level of opposition. He said, "Get Bob Arum to call when you're finished fighting taxi drivers." I guess some people would argue that Rocky Fielding is a taxi driver. But Berlanga, he wasn't best pleased and said he would knock Fielding out, in which Fielding responded, "When you're ready then." Fielding last fought November 2019, where he got a stoppage victory over someone named Abdullah. I'm not going to take on the surname right now. I don't think it's a fight people are calling for right now. If it happened, I don't think nobody would be saying, this is terrible, if we measure Fielding to Berlanga's previous opposition. Would it be competitive? After Rocky Fielding's last appearance in America against Canelo, Bob Arum is not under pressure to make that fight, and the American boxing media, the American boxing fans, I don't know. But Fielding, obviously, he wants a fight of some significance, so he's calling out opponents, which is fair enough. I'm going to go straight to it, because every time I go to the comment section of a Dimitri Bivol video, I keep seeing people saying what a brilliant boxer he is, how everything he does is great, even though his last 5 have went the limit. Everybody gets very technical when they want to avoid what I just pointed out there, that he's not getting stoppages. Everybody gets very technical. They want to talk about, don't worry about the brutality or the lack of. They get technical. They don't get technical with Mayweather, and they don't get technical with other fighters. They'll just call it boring. Now, I can get technical as well, and I appreciate how technical Bivol is, and I enjoy watching him from that standpoint. You've never seen me on the internet saying he doesn't deserve a big fight because he doesn't score stoppages, and he is rather reserved and one-paced, albeit very technical. I enjoy watching him. I also enjoy watching Andrade, Erislandy Lara, Shakur Stevenson. I'm wondering if some of these BIVOL fans and fans of Eastern European fighters get technical when they talk about them 3 fighters I named there. Or do they go to the boring tag? Now, I want to see how Callum Smith does in his light heavyweight debut against Lenin Castillo, who comfortably took BIVOL the distance. Because people will swear blind that BIVOL is fighting a high level of competition. He beat Joe Smith Jr. But I saw Vlasov beat Joe Smith Jr., just didn't get the result. So a lot of boxing is just politics. Let's just keep it real. How good is Lenin Castillo? Now, in hindsight, you got to give some kudos to the Jean Pascal result, as he went on to beat Badu Jack and Marcus Brown in upsets. Some would argue that BIVOL is not showing us his best. He's doing what he has to do just to defend his belts. When he's fully tested against a higher level or higher caliber of opponent, then we'll see everything he has. Well, that's your opinion, but is it true? So I want to see if Callum can dominate this guy, not necessarily get a stoppage. See if he can dominate him, just to see if I can get a gauge on how he does at 175. He takes on Castillo on the undercard of AJ versus Usyk. But, you know, you never know. He might get a Lenin Castillo who is just over here for a paycheck. I mean, he's had 1 fight in nearly 2 years against Ronald Gonzalez. He's from the Dominican Republic. He's 6'2", 76-inch reach. Pretty big light heavy. Callum Smith at 6'3", 78-inch reach has always been a big super middle. But now, as we can see here, at 175, the boxers are nearing him in size. If he doesn't have the size advantage over his opponents at this weight, does he box well enough to do well at the new weight class? Interesting debut.